Hello, all you fabulous females out there. This is Louise Fennell coming to you from mmtv in Melrose. And my guest today is Geraldine Fonseca, who is going to talk to you about a very interesting subject to me, I know, concerning a group called Parents Anonymous. Jerry, would you introduce yourself and just say a little bit about what you do and how you got there?
Hi, I'm Geraldine Fonseca, and I was a coordinator for Parents Anonymous. And what that consisted of was we had 52 or 53 groups at the time. And the job is to open new groups, and it actually spread from the Berkshires to the Cape. So we did have quite a few groups. The last count I got, I think it was like 53 or 54. And anybody could open a group that belonged to the organization. It was quite easy. We depended heavily on human services that would kind of help us kind of find places, because where the people met, it was free. There was never a charge.
And where were those places? Where were those places?
Well, they
met?
could be in the human service field. Like, it could be in a church where the space was given free, and the number of the hours were given free. Sometimes the groups were 1 or 2 hours long. And it was kind of like a freedom of the people who gave us the meeting place, because you just simply went there, no keys were involved, or you just opened the door and walked in, and you sat down and you met your other group members. The group members would join one at a time, or maybe two at a time. You know how women are. Women love to bring a friend along to anything that they do.
Sure.
So,
no men allowed?
no, there was lots of men, although you wouldn't believe it, but there were lots of men. And the whole idea is if you were having a struggle with your parenting. And in today's world, I think in yesterday's world with myself as a parent, one of my qualifications was the fact that I was one of 9 children. I was the oldest of 9 children. And life back then was pretty tough. And that's because back then, when a husband, most women didn't work, and when they lost a husband, they lost a paycheck. And in my case, my father was in the service, and he died in Iwo Jima when they were all trying to put that flag up. And the reason was he was buried at sea, and that was because when they got shot or hurt very badly, the Japanese had the ships, the medical ships, all surrounded, and you couldn't get near them. So unfortunately, a lot of fellas died because they couldn't get the medical help. Isn't that awful?
Wow, yeah.
But it's the way the war runs, you know. So that was that situation. My qualifications was for not having a father. And so when I was a kid, I was not thrilled with the war. And I did not like to even talk about it, because I felt it killed my father. You know, it's difficult for little kids to understand all of these things. Yeah, so that was one strike against me. And the other one was when I became a parent, because I was the oldest of 9 children. I thought there was nothing I could learn about being a parent. My husband was shocked because I could cook when I got married, because I had to fill in for my mother, who was sick sometimes.
Sure.
So, you know, it goes on why you can do what you can do.
Yep.
But the thing is I also adopted 2 kids and one was an infant, and one was a 3-year-old. And the 3-year-old was from another country, and she drove me crazy because she was the smartest little thing. She picked up English like you wouldn't believe, and she could converse with my husband. He used to talk Portuguese to her, and she would talk right along with him and go like she belonged there. And she was very, very smart, but the thing is I also was the stereotype adopted person who was very nervous, and why should I be nervous? I had all this experience, but the thing was I brought it all on myself. I drove myself crazy is what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was looking for some place that I could go and just talk by myself, not share all this stuff with my husband or other relatives, but to be able to just talk and release my nervousness. And then I found Parents Anonymous. Then I joined this group, and there was about 7 or 8 of us, and it was slowly growing. Every so often you'd get a person come in. And we met in a church, and I found it delightful. It was very quiet, and the people that ran the church were very inviting. And the other people coming in, I found them quite interesting, and I loved the idea that they had a problem. Yeah, right. So, and I could sit and share with them my feelings, and they could share with me if there was something, eruption of some sort that happened at home. You could actually call another group member, and they would kind of console you, but they also would tell you what you're doing wrong and how your expectations are out of whack. So, and I think that's one of the things that people want to hear. They want the commonality of the struggles of being a parent, that it's okay to have a struggle, and it's okay to... I thought I should know everything and be everything with all the experience I had. So once I got off my high horse and joined the rest of the group and became a normal person, it was the feeling of it was so good.
Oh, yeah.
So relieving, and I found it a comfort. After I was in the group a few years, I began to get the knowledge and the whole idea of being a responsible parent and not taking things so seriously and being able to relax a little bit, and therefore my parenting would relax a little.
Great.
And I started to feel successful. And after a few years, I grew up, is what it really grew up. Yeah. And I didn't have to be Miss Know-It-All. And suddenly, the facilitator we had was a professional person, which that's what the group involves. It involves a professional person inside the group that does have parenting experience, but also they're educated in the child and parent areas where they can pinpoint different things. And
can you stop you for 1 second? Can you explain the difference between Parents Anonymous and, say, Al-Anon, which I'm familiar with? In how they were like Al-Anon has a member of the group lead each week.
Actually, Parents Anonymous did not belong to any anonymous organization.
Oh, okay.
They are run completely separate, but where they got the name Parents Anonymous is because what it was is the parents didn't want 107 people knowing that they were having parenting struggles.
Okay. Yeah.
And back then, I think the expectations of other people is once you became a parent, it was the idea you knew and had to search out everything that you needed to know, and you shouldn't be having a struggle at all. But unfortunately, that was not the case.
How true.
And really, because none of us were brought up to be star parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
We all make mistakes. And the things that used to bother me the most was the most common things in the world.
Ah.
But because I was the oldest of 9, I don't know, somehow or another, I put this idea in my own head and thought I was supposed to be experienced and perfect in everything.
Oh, sure.
And, of course, I was far from that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But it was nice to see other people come into a group, and I felt so relieved that I didn't have to be, once I learned that I didn't have to be a professional person. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to have all the ideas, and I was allowed a mistake or two, and that I should reach out and find out how to take care of that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Once I did that, it was a breeze. Not really, but you know what I mean?
Yes, sure.
You still have the world to contend with.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for the parents who don't have it now because I don't think it's existing in Massachusetts anymore.
Oh, that's too bad.
God.
Wow. Maybe one of you out there could get something going.
Yeah, it was, when you think of it, if you just sit back and relax and think about the child-parent relationship, I think it's even more of a struggle today because there's so much temptation out there for the children. There's so many bullies that are out there
Oh, yes.
running your children's lives.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right.
And the parents don't know what the hell to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when you
Right.
think, and they're not professionals themselves. Not everybody goes into parenting education after school.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Sure.
And yet, I think that we should have more of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
I
agree.
think Parents Anonymous would be wonderful
Mm-hmm.
to have around the United States and around right here in Massachusetts anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's a lot of people that do need help. And I don't think they would make half the mistakes if they had a group that they could go to and feel comfortable and have their nervousness that makes them perhaps go a little different,
Yeah.
harder.
Oh, sure.
And then with the kids themselves, just because a kid answers you very frankly, they sometimes can see the forest from the woods a lot easier than we do
Yeah.
sometimes. And but that doesn't mean that they're wrong or that they come across as being fresh or bold when actually they're just inquiring. It's just that as a kid, they haven't learned the facade of just being a little bit more polite or,
Yeah. Right.
and that we have to learn too,
Oh, sure.
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 So as babies, we used to get thrilled when they did something. If they talked, they said a word, or they gave a gesture that was correct for them to do. But then you forget the awkwardness of a child. They can't always, they're not born with an education, so they are very blunt sometimes, and I think the bluntness disturbs a lot of people. It comes across as being fresh or bold, or I'm sure there's a lot of parents out there that would agree with me on that issue.
I bet.
Yeah.
And we have talked a little bit just among ourselves, and you got kind of into a leadership role at some point, right? You became kind of a leader of several groups. Didn't you go around helping
What I
groups?
did is, after being in group for a number of years, what we called the sponsor was the group leader. And the sponsor was leaving, and she was going to another state. So they needed a new sponsor. They advertised, and one wasn't coming forth. So what it was is they had a talk with the previous one, and the previous sponsor recommended me doing it. They said that they felt being a parent would equalize the strength of education-wise, maybe. And also the thing is, they felt that I could be a good asset because I was very honest with myself. And that's half the battle, is being honest with yourself, what you really can do. But it takes a while, because even I thought I was supposed to be so great. And actually, I'm just a human being like everybody else. And that makes a big difference.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I got on board. They asked me to come on board. I went in for training. And honest to God, I absolutely loved it. There was a sense of me that felt that I could do this, and I could do it, and there would be a commonality among the group. It would be another parent leader, and I wasn't wrong. I joined People Connected because I was a parent in the beginning, and they felt that I did a good job. So I had a lot of professional help that would be behind me, and they all said it was a good thing to do. So what happened was I opened the door for parent leadership too.
And how'd
If
that
I
work?
could do that and evolve out of a group, maybe somebody else could. And although they didn't advertise that fact, but the thing of it is once one does it, that means there are others that are just as equal. And so I went to work in the state office.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, what is the organization?
Parents Anonymous.
Okay.
Okay, and what the greatest asset to that was the fact that the Department of Social Services referred people to our groups for help. And they were thrilled to get something that they could offer, another helpful thing to their parents. And they also they supported Parents Anonymous in a way. They gave a good chunk. And they actually paid my salary.
Oh, wonderful.
So although people, which brings me to another point, is that people condemn the social services for a lot of things. But you know something? They work extremely hard. I absolutely love them. They do have their parents at heart. They have their interests at heart, and they have their children at heart. The thing is, sometimes a lot of mistakes can be made, but they're made because maybe they're being held back and not really being truthful. And or there is maybe a person, it could be another man, who is in the household that maybe shouldn't be because he's maybe abusive.
Yeah.
And things just happen. A flare-up happens. He gets really mad. He strikes out, and he can do a lot of hurtful damage. So sometimes the social workers get blamed for that, but I'm telling you, the fact is that they do make their meetings. They do. They may be very, very busy sometimes and can't make it maybe in time, but I don't think, I honestly do not think they are neglectful. I do not think they are. They do have their parents and their children's heart, and they wish only the best for them, and they try to give them the best. It's just that they're depending on an agency that has a few resources but may not have enough. And when you look at the world today, I'm going to tell you, they don't have enough. And they need people to start those organizations and to provide, and they don't have it. So, sometimes you can help a person to a certain point, but there's something else that they need, and you can't give it to them because it doesn't exist. So that's it. But I tell you, I've known a lot of people in group. And I tell you, some of the best mothers and fathers out there have gone to group. and have learned how to be mothers and fathers and also human beings. That was my greatest thing, was to be a human.
Right. Yeah. And on that note, we're going to have to end, but maybe we could do this again sometime because I
Okay.
think there's a lot more to learn. And speaking of learning, maybe some of you out there who are listening might have some ideas on how to get this thing started in Massachusetts, which
Yeah.
I think would be fantastic. And as of right now, though, we need to end this session for today. I hope all of you will have a very wonderful evening, and I hope you've learned. This is Louise Fennell from mmtv. Good night.